Worst decision of my life, a terrible mistake. I regret listening to this financial advice, and chances are you've been following it too. So I'm breaking down 5 popular financial advice that I wish I stopped listening to years ago. So to tell you the first financial advice to ignore, I'm gonna tell you how to make the perfect sandwich. So to make the perfect sandwich, you need to start with all the right ingredients. Bread got some, tomatoes, dang, we're out of cheese. And the ingredients need to be just right. Sometimes we can be so focused on the end result, the sandwich, that we don't actually look at how we're getting there. Like when I was younger, I did anything I could to try to make some cash. I'd work at the library, at the supermarket, I'd sell my photography services, anything. Because at the time, my one single goal was to make $100,000, and I didn't really care about how I got there. Which was terrible because that just forced me to work hard instead of working smart. Just like the perfect sandwich, you need the right foundation to make a lot of money. So the first popular financial advice to ignore is to focus just on making money. Instead, you need to focus on building the skill sets that will make you more money in the long term. Sure, building skills might not make you money immediately, unlike working at a supermarket or a restaurant, but your skills will make you significantly more in the long term if you apply them correctly. So now we gotta take what we learned up a level, and what I'm doing to help you learn the next advice to completely ignore is drive to the grocery store to get some cheese. Check this out. Damn, that place looks nice. So I live in New York, which means that rent is way too high. And if there's one thing that I learned throughout my entire life, it's that one of the fastest ways to build wealth is through owning a home and real estate. Because why spend $2,000 on rent when you can spend $2,000 to pay off your house's mortgage? So I got distracted from my grocery store run and started looking around for a house. And they all look super expensive. It's overwhelming, but I kept reminding myself of all the benefits of home ownership. Tax deductions, a stable investment, and owning my own thing. As I'm thinking, I'm starting to have some second doubts, which can all be boiled down to one thing. To start off, paying for a basic need like putting a roof over your head is never a waste of money. It's a basic necessity. And look, I'm never gonna tell you to never invest in real estate. If you're in a place to make that move, then go for it. But the popular financial advice that renting is always a waste of money is wrong. Here's why. One, you've got to pay close attention to the total cost. Like look at the interest rate situation right now in the looming recession. These kind of things can push your monthly installments to new levels that you simply can't afford. Add insurance expenses, upgrades, and maintenance into this equation, and boy, it gets pricey. And you might not be in a financial position to afford this entire thing. And on the other side, these are just a few things that renters don't have to deal with. And two, when you buy a house, you need to think about how long you're actually gonna live there. Yes, you can buy it and sell it later and hope for a profit, but there are so many one-off costs like repairs, broker fees, etc., that selling your property after a very short period might not be worth the effort. If you don't plan on staying in one place for a relatively long time, then buying might not be the best option. And finally, there are a lot of unexpected things, like significantly higher financial responsibility and greater risk that can happen when you buy a house. And if you're not in a stable place in life, all of this added stress and responsibility might be too much to handle. So to tell you the next financial advice to ignore, I'm gonna attempt to read your mind. Seriously. In a second, I'm gonna play 2 short clips, and then after you watch them, I'm gonna guess which one you think I would support. And then I'm gonna explain how I knew that, which will reveal this terrible financial advice that you need to ignore. Hi, can I get a ice brown sugar?
Shaken espresso?
Yes.
What size?
Small? Thank you. Hey, how you doing? Can I get a... Actually, never mind. Thank you. So this might not work on 100% of you, but I'm willing to bet if you ever listen to any financial advice, you think I'd support clip number 2. Why? Well, because in the first clip, I'm spending $5 on a cup of coffee, and most of you have been ingrained to think that this is a ridiculous expense. Ridiculously delicious. Heck, I've heard so many financial gurus say, stop getting that latte, don't get that candy bar. All that $5 luxury will add up over time. And yes, skipping that $5 cup of coffee every morning before work means you'll save over $1,200 in a year. But here's the problem. Although you have financial goals, you don't want to get there living miserably. The idea of living off the bare necessities and saving every penny along the way sounds horrible. Honestly, think about the last time that you skipped out on a coffee or something similar. Did that money actually make its way to your savings? And if yes, did that $5 make a big difference in where you stand financially? Look, by all means, I'm not saying go out and spend everything and live a super lavish lifestyle. Just don't feel guilty for treating yourself along the way. I mean, if that was my goal, why would I need to get cheese? Dang, we're out of cheese. I could have just eaten bread and tomatoes. But here's the single most important reason I support the first clip: the Pareto Principle, aka the 80-20 rule. It's the idea that about 80% of your total expenses come from around 20% of your expense categories, like housing, transportation, and insurance. The Pareto Principle says it's way more effective and easier to reduce this 20% of your biggest expense categories that contribute to most of your spending cost than reduce 80% of the smaller categories like coffee. If your total expenses for the month is $6,000, 80% or $4,800 of the expenses is coming from 20% of the categories, and the remaining 20% or $1,200 of the expenses is coming from 80% of the categories. So let's say you need to save $600 somewhere. It would be much easier to save the $600 from the $4,800 expenses rather than the $1,200 expenses. So ask yourself, for housing, can you refinance your mortgage or move to a cheaper place? For transportation, can you trade in for a more affordable car? For insurance, can you compare rates and switch to something that costs less? All these changes will save you a lot more than that $5 coffee. So this next financial advice, I make it my sole mission to stop doing over the next 12 months because it's a simple solution to why you're not making more money. But first, we gotta make the sandwich. So everyone that's trying to make more money has this one very big problem, and I think the best way to describe it is by watching this.
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
If you ever watch Kitchen Nightmares, then you'll see a lot of these people have a passion for cooking. They'll open up a restaurant, run it for a little bit, and then everything goes downhill from there. Like, following her passion turned her into an idiot sandwich. And I'm not trying to beat you down, but the popular financial advice of following your passion isn't always gonna lead you to success. People absolutely love to incorrectly quote Steve Jobs, especially when he spoke about one of the most pivotal moments in his life. Steve says one of the foundations to a successful career is to follow your passions. But what Steve was actually saying was the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, then keep looking. Don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. But what does this mean? So right now, I want this sandwich to taste good, but if I just slap all the pieces together all willy-nilly, it's not gonna be. Instead, I need to slice up the tomatoes properly. I need to make sure that I don't put the cheese on the outside of the bread instead of the inside. I need to turn this process of making a sandwich into sort of a passion of mine. It's the only way to get the sandwich perfect. You can try getting yourself to build wealth at a job that you simply hate, but once again, you don't want to be living a miserable life. Otherwise, what's the point? You'll find yourself super drained after each day, unmotivated, and potentially depressed. So learn to enjoy what you do. Like when I was working in finance, I had to do super boring Excel work, which took the whole day. Now, I could have sat there and gotten really upset about it, or I could have found a way to sort of enjoy it. I set a timer to try to complete each task as quickly as possible, and then rewarded myself in the end. And also turned the boring thing into more therapeutic with some hippity hop in the background blasting in my headphones. See if you can turn your job into something that you'll actually enjoy. You can keep it exciting by setting your own goals and rewards and challenges. And if that's impossible, then move to a job that's a better fit. So for this next advice, I need you to stop doing it because it might be the absolute worst thing I've ever heard in my entire life. But first, let's go check on that sandwich. Well, I mean, it looks pretty good, but how'd I make a tomato and cheese sandwich? Well, that sucked. I just wasted about 2 hours of my life going to the store, grabbing the cheese, building my sandwich, cooking it, and after all that effort, it tastes like this? Why did I put myself through this? The reason is I tried to save a few bucks by making the sandwich myself, when I could have very easily just popped my phone out and ordered the sandwich. And that sandwich would have tasted a lot better and saved me a lot of time. You see, the very popular financial advice to just do it to save yourself money can be terrible, because there are two ways this could have played out if you just ordered a sandwich instead of making one. One, you could have worked on your side hustle during that time, which could have made you a lot more money than the actual cost of just buying a sandwich. Or two, you could have just sat back and relaxed for a change. Whether it's fixing the sink, mowing the lawn, or doing an oil change, time equals money. And the do-it-yourself method might not be the best use of your precious time. The reality is that paying people to do these time-consuming jobs is a smart way to save time, to minimize distractions, and to make more money. And this brings me to something that you've got to start accepting. And it's that even if you ignore the popular financial advice that's terrible, sometimes your bank account still won't grow. And that might be because you're giving away all your money to taxes. You really gotta learn how to legally pay as little taxes as possible from this video. And make sure you watch it as soon as possible, because the longer you wait, the more you're gonna have to pay in taxes.